Hello and welcome to Nithrania YouTube channel. You're watching another episode of the Game in a Nutshell series designed for explaining the board game rules. My name is Branislav Berec, and in this video we're going to learn how to play Cosca from Tlama Games. It's a game where players represent rivaling mafia families trying to get control of the city, predominantly by trying to gaining loyalty of mafiosos in the city. It's a game for 3 to 5 players, plays in about 40 to 60 minutes. And before we start, let me say that all the components in this video are prototype components. The graphics in the game will change, that's confirmed by the publisher. And with that, let's get started. To set the game up, lay out these city cards in this exact order. So bank, gun store, racetrack, club, Don, Spia and Street, and these cards form a city map. Then place this calendar card nearby and place this endgame marker on the current day of the week, of the actual week. I'm recording on Sunday, so let me place it on Sunday and then place the current date marker on the same day. Then shuffle these Mafioso cards, create a face down stack and reveal as many cards face up as there are players in the game. So in a 4-player game, reveal 4 cards. Then each player chooses a color and takes all 11 loyalty tokens of that color, 1 gun token, 1 cash token and 3 Henchmen dice. Put everything behind a player screen. For the sake of explanation, I will not use that player screen on the video. In Cosca, players represent mafia families rivaling to get control of the city. They do it by gaining the loyalty of these mafiosos, and the player or the family who has the most loyal mafiosos by the end of the game wins the game. The game is played over 7 days, over 1 week, which means players play 7 rounds, and each round players will use their Henchmen dice to choose their actions, then resolve the actions in the city, and then eventually fight for the loyalty of the mafiosos, and then it's the next day. The game ends after 7 rounds, after 7 days, and then the player with the most heads, most loyal mafiosos, will become the winner of the game. So let's go through one round of the game in more detail. First of all, move the day marker to the next day. So let's start with Monday. And then you have to perform some administration steps which are skipped in the first round of the game. So let me come back to this phase in the second round. Then in the second phase, you set the values or faces of your Henchmen dice. Obviously, you do that behind the player screen. The symbols on these dice correspond to the symbols on the city cards and also on the mafioso cards. Therefore, the symbols you choose determine the actions you can take during the round and also the mafiosos whose loyalty you can fight for at the end of the round. So each player chooses the faces of their Henchmen dice, and once everyone is ready, players remove their player screens and reveal their dice. Then in the third phase, you will resolve these dice. These city locations will be resolved one after another, starting from the bank and ending with the street, so going from left to right in this exact order. You have to fully resolve one location before you proceed to another location. However, all players who resolve the specific location can do it simultaneously. Let me go through those city locations in more detail real quick. For each dollar symbol on your dice, you gain 1 cash token from the general supply and you place it in your personal supply. Then in the gun store, if you have this gun face on your dice, for each such die, you have to take 1 cash token and use that cash token to change it for the gun token. You can do it as many times as you have gun symbols and the cash tokens. By the way, if you gain the cash token in the bank, you can use it right away in the gun store and buy the gun. Then if you have any horseshoe symbol, you can take 2 cash tokens. However, you can only do this on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if we have Monday at the moment, there is no horse racing, you can still use that symbol. You don't get any cash tokens, but that symbol may satisfy the conditions on some of those Mafioso cards. Then the club will not give you any effect in the first round of the game because you can only use the club on loyal Mafiosos, which means you can only use it if you already have any loyal Mafioso, so there is a card with your head token on it. Now let's pretend there is. If you want to use the club, you have to have the glass symbol and 1 cash token, and for each glass symbol and the cash token, you may take that cash token and place it on that loyal Mafioso. Again, you can only do that if that loyal Mafioso doesn't have a cash token yet. If it has, you may not place another token there. Furthermore, you can only place that cash token on your loyal Mafiosos. You may never place it on Mafiosos loyal to another player. Now, you may ask, why is this good for? In the last phase of each round, when players fight for the loyalty of these Mafiosos, if you don't fulfill the conditions of this Mafioso, you can still fight for its loyalty with this cash token. Thematically, you pay that person to stay loyal to you even if other players are trying to gain their loyalty. Then with the next action, you can ask the Don for help if at least one of your dice shows this symbol. So let's say one of these dice shows the Don's via face. As this symbol indicates, you gain this token. With this token, you also gain 1 henchman die, which you use in the following round. You may use this action only once per round, even if more dice would show the same symbol. Again, you can do this, you can have 2 symbols to fulfill the conditions of Mafioso card. And furthermore, you can use this Don's action only twice per game. The first time you use it, you place the henchman die on this white side of the token. The second time you use it, turn the token to the black side, and again you will get the die for the following round. And after you use it for the second time, you may no longer take that action for the remainder of the game. Again, you may still turn your dice to these house faces to satisfy the conditions here. You will simply not gain any benefits from that action. And finally, in the streets, the player or the players with the most dice with these symbols, let's say one player has 2 symbols, the other player has also 2 symbols, and the third one has 1 symbol. So both of these players will gain 1 cash token and 1 gun token. Once all the locations are resolved, the third phase is over and we'll proceed to the fourth phase. In this one, players will try to gain the loyalty of these Mafiosos. You gain this loyalty by fulfilling conditions at the bottom of the Mafioso cards, and you fulfill those conditions by your henchman dice from the current round. If you have the henchman die for the next round, this one doesn't count yet. Each time you fulfill a condition on a Mafioso card, so here we have 2 glass faces on these dice, take one of your loyalty tokens and place it next to that card. Each die can contribute to fulfilling conditions on any number of Mafioso cards. So let's say, for the sake of explanation, there is another Mafioso card. Here, this one requires a gun symbol and the glass symbol. We have both of these here, so you would take a loyalty token and place it above that card. Once you have the tokens laid out, start resolving these fights from left to right. If there's only one player fulfilling the condition of that Mafioso, that player gains that loyalty in a peaceful way. If there is another token of another player on that card, return the token to that player, and now the new player has the loyalty of that Mafioso. If there's more than one player fulfilling the condition of that Mafioso, they will have a fight. And it's not a duel, any number of players who fulfill that condition will fight for that loyalty. To resolve the fight, take your resources, cash tokens and the gun tokens behind your player screen and then take any number of them into your fist. And when all players are ready, they stretch out their hands and reveal their fists simultaneously. Each cash token is worth 1 fight point. Each gun token is worth 3 fight points. The player with the highest value wins the fight for that mafioso. If the mafioso was neutral so far, the winning player places their token on that mafioso. Other players take their tokens back to their supply. However, all players, winning or losing, discard their resources used for the fight. If the mafioso was already loyal to any player, if the same player wins the fight for that mafioso, all players can actually take their loyalty tokens back and the original token remains in its place. If the fight is won by another player, again, return that original token to its owner. In case of the tie, let's say both the purple and green player would have the highest value of their tokens. All other players, losing players, take their tokens back. However, the loyalty of the current mafioso doesn't change whether or not that mafioso was loyal to a player or not. If not, that mafioso still remains neutral. But the loyalty tokens of those tied players remain in place for the next round. That means in the next round, even if these players would not fulfill this condition on the card, they would still participate in the fight for the loyalty of that mafioso. And finally, if there is a fight for the mafioso loyal to you, however you don't fulfill the condition on the card, you may still participate in the battle if there is a cash token on that mafioso, which means you bribed that mafioso earlier this round or previous round. If, in this case, you wish to participate in the fight for that mafioso, discard the cash token and participate in the fight as usual. If there is a cash token on the mafioso card, but there is nobody fighting for the loyalty of that mafioso still remains loyal to you and the cash token also remains on the card for the next round. Once you resolve the loyalty fines for all mafiosos, the fourth phase is over. And now, if the current date marker is on the same day as the endgame marker, the game would end. Otherwise, simply proceed to the phase 1 of the next round. Since I've skipped the phase 1 in the first round, let me now explain what happens in this phase in the second round and all the following rounds. First, move the current date marker to the next day. Then take all your henchman dice. You always have 3 dice. If you have the die from the Don's help, then get the die as well. And if you have any loyal mafiosos, you may get additional dice. However, each mafioso has these days listed on the card, and these are the only days during the week when this mafioso will do some work. Since we have Tuesday currently, and Henrietta doesn't work on Tuesdays, she will not give you any additional henchman die. But Tommy works on Tuesday, so he will provide 1 additional die, and so you can use that die this round. Then reveal another mafioso card and place it face up to the end of the row. And now check your resources. You can have maximum 10 gun tokens and 10 cash tokens. If you have more, you have to discard down to 10. The game ends at the end of the last day of the game, at the end of the last round. Remember, if you start the game on Thursday, for example, then the last day will be the Wednesday. So when this date marker goes through the entire week and it's the end of the Wednesday, the game will be over. The final scoring is very easy. The player with the most heads on these mafioso cards, so the player with the most loyal mafiosos, wins the game. If there is a tie, then the player with the most remaining resources wins the game, so with the most remaining guns and cash tokens. And if there is still a tie, the player of those tied players with the leftmost mafioso wins the game. So that's how you play Cosca. If you have any questions or comments, I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. If you like these videos, please subscribe. You can support the channel on the Patreon page. You've been watching Game in a Nutshell. My name is Branislav Berec and hope to see you next time.